Hello, everyone. Other week, other episode. Thanks for tuning in. This week, I want to talk about something that I think I have an unusual perspective of, or understanding, or slash interpretation of. But before we really discuss what I think of this, I want to ask you guys, and we should talk about what you guys think first. To you guys, can you guys explain what you think means to want something? Like, what does it really mean to want something?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Because I feel like there are many ways you kind of think of it.
Yeah.
And it's such a basic thing people say all the time.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to dive into different interpretations of this and kind of the effects of these different mindsets and, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you could define wanting something as desiring a certain outcome. Like, if given like a bunch of possibilities, if that's the possibility I choose, then you could say that's the possibility that you want. You know, so like let's say, you know, if I could do a certain thing, right, and get this car, or not do that thing and get that car, right. If I still don't want that car, then, you know, there's a good chance that I'll choose the option where I don't do the thing and I don't get the car, right? I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys.
Okay.
I feel like I explained that really poorly. You know what I mean?
I think I get the general gist of what you're saying.
Yeah, I just feel like simply put, if you'd prefer to have it in the future, you know? If you'd if you think you'd enjoy the moment more with it than without it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, when you say, like, I want this, is that kind
I feel
of
like it's more like I'd rather
you
have
think
it
about it?
than not have it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Raymond?
I don't know. I think, well, like, I feel like the use of want is really vague.
Yeah.
You could want something and not necessarily need it, or like you have to have it.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like the usage of want is kind of like all over the place, and like as you said, like it's different for a lot of people, or for, like, you know, everyone. And like I kind of get what Lorenzo was getting at. Like, if you want something, but you have to do something to get it first. You know, like you could either want it in a way where, like, you go through with whatever task first in order to get it, or you could want it as in you prefer to have it, but you don't necessarily like want to work for it. You know, so I don't know. There's different types of wants, depending on like what you want and like how much value you find in it. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why I want to talk about this with you guys. And I think you bring up some very, very good points. And I think you kind of mentioned quite a few things that relates to what I think. But before we really get there, you said something very interesting that I want to get to before. And that is, you said needing, and, you know, you say, I have to have this or have to do this, that kind of idea. And for me, for a very long time, I just kind of thought, well, I really just realized that concept doesn't make sense to me. I never feel like I have to do something or I need to do something, you know, like for many years now, that idea of needing to do something, like that just didn't make sense to me. And like, to elaborate on that, you know, when I think of some example people might give is saying stuff like, oh, you know, you have to obey the law. Well, I'm like, you know, if you had to obey the law, then there wouldn't be criminals. You know, obviously you don't have to, you know, it's a choice. You make the choice, there are consequences, or at least potential consequences, right? It's always kind of like that. And then some people might talk about how, like, you need to eat, you know, you need to sleep. Well, guess what? If you don't eat, there are obvious consequences that come with that.
Yeah.
If you don't sleep, same idea. Like, there are things like that are so basic that everyone just does, and you just kind of say that you need to do it. When I look at it and think about it, I'm like, no, you want to do that because you want to live. You don't want to suffer the consequences of breaking the law. Like some of these basic arguments I hear people make when we talk about it. So, before we really dive into kind of what I think, just kind of my idea of what it means to want something, I want to ask you guys for your opinions on kind of what I just said about the idea of needing and how it doesn't really make sense.
That reminds me a lot of like Buddhist philosophy, I guess. I'm getting a lot of those vibes there, I guess that does make sense. I guess if you're not attached to, if you frame it in that way where your want of things is only as a result of wanting to live, right? Then I guess in that sense, there's no such thing as needing. But I don't know. To me, it's just so intrinsic to want to live. I don't know. Because ideally, I feel like you would want to live. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of Western philosophy, there's a big focus on like the pursuit of happiness and whatnot, and like the meaning of life and whatnot. So I feel like if that question is answered for you somehow, whether it's like religion or otherwise, then I feel like it's pretty fair to say you have some needs, because following through with your belief system would entail, surviving and needing that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion on that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the word need needs to have something like a repercussion or like something that's valuable enough for you to decide if you need it or not. So you only really need water when you want yourself to live, So you need the want first before you figure out what you need. So like bring back to the first point, it's like you want that car, but what you need to do first in order to gain that car, you need the money. You need your license. You need all that stuff first before you actually obtain what you really want. So I feel like the need aspect is the important or more valuable things you have to kind of do before you actually achieve things you want. So like you don't have to go to school, but in order for you to want a certain job, you need the education. And that's kind of my thought on like I guess the word need and the meaning behind it. Yeah.
That's I absolutely agree with you in that sense, and same with you, Lorenzo. I think both of you make some very good points. I think for me, the biggest reason why I don't like to think of it like that and really use the word need is because it just feels less intentional, Like when you're saying that I'm going to drink this water because I want to live. I want to drink this. It's very intentional. You're not just being alive. You're actively living. Like you're actively and intentionally making these decisions, these choices, right? So for me, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
And for me, when I'm in that kind of mindset all the time and living based on that, it just feels more meaningful, and everything I do and the whole kind of life just becomes more clear to me. Just having more clarity on what I'm actually doing, what I'm wanting to do, and how I'm spending my time, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I see that.
I 100% agree. Like when you switch the need with want, I feel like it's more personal to you, and it's more of a personal goal to achieve it. I feel like a lot of times, like the word need is related to like a certain type of authority, So like, I feel like when you say you need something, do you want that, or do you need it because it's required by something else? And yeah, no, like I 100% agree with that. It makes things more interesting for yourself as well, and makes things more, I guess, enjoyable when you actually do the things that you want to do instead of you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think you could definitely maybe reach like a balance where you find like the best of both worlds, I think. Because I think it's not entirely binary here. Because you have, like, for example, the food example, right? Instead of phrasing it like, oh, I need to eat, I personally usually phrase it as like, oh, well, I need to eat, but I don't really need to eat right now. You know, as long as I get around to eating later, I'll be okay. So it's not a big deal. So in that sense, when I eat, I always eat because I want to eat. That's the only time I ever eat. A lot of times it's just because I'm really hungry and that's my body telling me, oh, okay, you should probably eat, you know?
Yeah.
But I still understand that I need to eat. It's not something, I don't know, I feel like with my, you know, when you know that it's safe to do something, it's easier to send it. I think I've touched upon this before, but I tie this back to parkour and all that stuff just because I like tying stuff to that all the time. But it's that same sort of thing, like, oh, think about like the consequences. If I do this, what's the worst that could happen? You know, worst that could happen if I don't eat today, I'll wake up a little hungrier tomorrow, you know? Like, I'm not going to die or anything, so I don't need to eat at the moment. But eating is a need of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that way you can still kind of... Because, I don't know, I feel weird not having any needs, you know? Because as long as you have, like, a certain end goal in mind, in some form, or some, like, if you have some idea of an end goal, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to graduate, do that, all that jazz, that I feel like at some point you kind of do need needs.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts, though.
I agree. I think when you want something enough, it becomes a need, or almost a need. And I feel like that's a good way of thinking about it. Because when you want, let's say, you know, you want to graduate, but you want it enough where you feel like you need to graduate. I think that's a really strong component of, you know, like what wanting can do to a person. You know, like, for example, like, let's say you want revenge, you know, for whatever cause, or, you know, if you really want it enough, you get lost in it and you kind of, you know, you tell yourself you need it. Meanwhile, like, it's more of an option. And I feel like a lot of times when you need to do something, it's always an option whether you could do it, you know, and that can lead you a lot towards a lot of goals which you have in mind and which you want, or you could not do it and you choose not to need it, you know. I don't know, like, it always comes down to personal choice. I feel like the decisions you have and, like, the amount of decisions you can make within, I guess, any type of goal or towards anything, it's really vast, you know. Like, you could choose a lot of things and a lot of things can turn out, you know, in different ways. It just comes down to if you want it enough, or if you believe that you need it, you know, to go through with it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I totally understand what you guys are saying, especially with what they were saying about the choice, Raymond. It's just like, for me, it's because there is that choice that I tend to think of it as, do I want to do it? Because I know it's a choice, right? I know it's an option, you know? So I think of it just more kind of, you know, part of it is just on a technical basis, because there is an option. You can't technically need it, right? Because it is an optional, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Not required, right? So that's one of the reasons why I think like that. The other one is, personally, it does make me feel like what I do is more meaningful because I'm being more intentional with it. So yeah, so I absolutely agree on what you guys are saying, and to just kind of relate that to why I think I do about needing it. So yeah, to go into what I think about wanting, something that I feel like when I say I want something in general, it tends to be more profound and like on a deeper level of desire, as opposed to more of a surface level desire. You know, for me, something that
I Lopez meme. You know what I like more than
Oh, yeah?
my cars is
Oh.
knowledge.
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
so
funny.
good.
But yeah, what I'm going with this is basically that, a lot of times when I hear people say that they want something, for me, like, do you really want that? Or is it more of like a surface level desire where you like enjoy it, Like if you were given the option, like, of, what am I trying to say here?
It's like preference.
But really, yeah, more of a preference base, more of just kind of like,
I would prefer to have it
know,
kind of like what I was talking about at the beginning. That's
yeah,
because that's
kinda like
exactly what
you
popped
were
into my
saying
mind
over there.
when you were talking about wants and desires. Like, I feel like what came to my mind would definitely fall under exactly what you just talked about. What's a surface level kind of desire? That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I feel like you could also encompass the thing that I described at the very beginning as some other types of desires where it's a little bit deeper, more profound. But
Yeah.
the first thing that came to mind for me was a lot of those surface level desires type of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And, I like to think of like wanting, for me personally, to be more of on a profound level as opposed to like surface level, is because, Raymond, you're talking about what matters to you and what's more valuable to you. I think for me to think of it this way really highlights what's valuable to me and really makes my decision making a lot easier and just making kind of what I think about different things more clear for me, right?
Yeah.
So one of the example I like to give when it comes to talking about surface level desire, and this actually ties into a different point that I think it will be very interesting to talk about. But I'm just gonna give the example, then we could get there when we do. But basically, Friday night, you have some time. Like, how do you want to spend the time? Do you want to be going out with your friends? Do you want to be, staying home, just watching Netflix, not really doing anything? Do you want to, hop on a video game and play for like hours? Do you want to be studying, just getting more prepared for like schoolwork? Do you want to work on like a personal project that you're passionate about or just wanting to do, right? So for me, like, there are a lot of options with the time you have on something like that. When you have like your primary thing you're already doing throughout your day, you have this period of time to do kind of, what your choice is. And when I think of this, I'm like, a lot of people kind of based on, I should do this, and that kind of thing, right? So for like, they'll talk about what they want to do, then they'll talk about what they think they should do. And for me, I believe that what you should do is what you genuinely want to do on a profound level. They're the same thing. That's the way I want to think about it, and that's the way I do think about it. So whenever I kind of hear people talk about they wanting to do something, but they should do something, in a scenario like that, for me, I'm just like, that's just so far from how I perceive these things and how I make my decisions. So if you want to go out with your friends over there, then go ahead if that's what you really want to do. Having that social interaction, having that interpersonal connection, having that kind of maybe to relieve stress, whatever it is. Like, if you really feel like that is what you actually want on a profound level, then you go ahead and do that. If you want to just be at home, have some alone time, just enjoy watching like your favorite show and just be really chill. If that's what you really want to do, that's what you do. If you're like really into video games and you feel like that's a very meaningful experience for you, maybe you like playing like certain games because you feel like you get some kind of achievement from it. Maybe you really enjoy playing with your friends, whatever it might be. Like, if you really feel like that is what you want and that is the most meaningful way to spend your time, then you go ahead and just do that, right? You shouldn't do something else if that's how you feel, in my opinion. And then if you want to feel more like as prepared as you can for your assignments and like whatever grading things, and you go ahead and do that. If you want to like learn as much as you can about whatever you're studying, you go ahead and just spend that time for studying and just kind of learning about it more. And if you have like an actual project that you're passionate about, if you have something that you know, genuinely think, hey, this is what I want to, you know, have outside of my main thing. This is my personal project. And it's meaningful to me. It's important to me. I value it. And you say, yeah, this is what I genuinely want to do. Then I think, you know, that's what you should do. They're one and the same, like you're saying, Lorenzo. For me, what you should do is what you want to do. And what it means for me to want to do something is just on a more profound level, right? So I just kind of have your thoughts on that before we kind of talk more about it, I guess.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
especially because I know you, so I know how your decision making works quite a bit, and I feel like that's a really good way to describe it. You know. Yeah. Wow. No, that's really good. I don't think that I personally function that way, but honestly, man, I think I should start doing that. I should start trying to do that for sure. That sounds pretty smart. That was very big IQ. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed. That was the whole speech. Did you write that down beforehand, man? What the heck? Making Raymond and I look bad out here.
Bro, I was like, dude, this guy, man.
Yeah, he's popping off. I'm like, dude, he should write a book or something. What the heck? Modern day Confucius. You know, my gosh.
I think I'm going to publish on Amazon.
Damn.
Buy some copies myself. Putting a very uncompetitive category. Get that Amazon bestseller.
Yes,
easy. There you go.
Easy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, I think you made it very clear, and you made it in a way where I almost, you know, like, I kind of want to do that too. You know, it's like Lorenzo was saying,
the way you
like,
explained it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's very agreeable. And you know, like, I see the value that can get you, and that, you know, that decision making, like, I guess, type can get you. Like, it's, I feel like you, I don't know, man, like, you just put in such a, like, well made, I don't even know, man. It just, like, I'm just thinking about it. It's like, you know what, like, that's true. Like,
he explained it in a way that lets us really appreciate the qualities behind it, you know?
Yeah, like, I'm just taking it in. I think okay, now I remember. All right, so I was thinking about this while you were talking about it. I was thinking, like, when you do something that you feel like you should do, it's rewarding. You know, you feel rewarded after you've done it, and that's the same thing as, you know, when you want to do something as well. When you want to do something that you enjoy, you feel rewarded after too. You're like, you know what, like, I'm glad I did it. You know. Well, of course, that doesn't go with, you know, every situation, but majority of the time, you feel good about it. And I think, you know, both of that has like a really deep connection. And I think you, like, you spoke it right out. You know, man, you put it into words. And yeah, I 100% agree with it. It's really intriguing to listen to that. It was. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now constantly.
We're just in awe.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And with what you're saying about you feeling good about it, I think for me that's a big part of how I got to thinking about it this way. I'm making decisions this way. You know, just about, you know, not wanting to have regrets, wanting to feel good about the decisions I've made. Right. So that's kind of the thought process that kind of led me to kind of figure out, okay, how do I do that? How do I make sure that, you know, I don't regret the decisions I make, and I feel good about the choices I make. Right. So, yeah. So what you're saying about that, you know, really, really ties in with how I got to, you know, this conclusion for me. And the other thing I really wanted to talk about when it comes to this is that, like, with the surface level, kind of more of a surface level desire, you know, you don't really want it as much, you know, whatever it is doesn't have as much value to you, right? So when it comes to something like that, like back to the example of like, you know, you have some time on a Friday night, what are you going to do? So say that a lot of people like to say that, you know, I want to go out with my friends, right? And then they'll say that I should do this because blah, 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 right? So you're talking about how like, it rewards you to do what you should do, right? So for me, like in that sense, you say like if it makes you feel good because, you know, it rewards you.
Yeah.
But then it also feels good when you're doing what you want to do on a more of a surface level.
Yeah.
Right? So I think this is something that is more interesting because I think what I was saying in the beginning, it's, you know, easy to buy into. Whereas having kind of over here, you have kind of both things that could make you feel good, right? So if you really kind of understand it the way I do, then it will be easy for you to kind of make the decision to do, you know, what you genuinely want to do. And because, you know, it has the most value to you, that's going to make you, it's going to bring the most meaning to you, right? But, you know, when it comes to this, it's not necessarily always that easy to kind of figure out, you know, because based on what I was saying, if you really wanted to go out with your friend, that's what you should do, right? But like, how do you know if that's what you really want to do as opposed to something you feel like you should do? You know, you just kind of have to look at, I forget which one of you were saying, but the end goal, right? Like I think for me in that scenario, to figure it out is to look at it at the end. What are you really getting out of this?
Yeah.
What is your end goal and how much does that value to you? And then I feel like it will be much easier to make that decision between two things that both feel good to you afterwards, you know? So I guess part of it is just having a longer term vision and have a deeper self-awareness of kind of what you want, I think, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's like this thing, there's like this, I guess, this action that like really helps people make decisions. I think that kind of ties in with it a little bit. There's always, when you come to two, you know, like paths or, you know, choices that you can make, choosing it is, you know, it's difficult at first, but let's say you flip a coin and there's, you know, like I've heard that like once you flip it, once it's in the air, you already know what you want because you see
what you're hoping
exactly.
for. You know,
yeah. So like, and then that way, you know, that you go with that feeling of what you really want.
Yeah.
Or there's another thing where, so I feel like a lot of times when you do something you should, and you feel good about it afterwards, is because the fact that if you were to do something else that you want to do, like on a surface level, that doesn't hold as much value, and when you know that, it just puts, you know, like, I guess it gives you the feeling of guilt or regret that you didn't do what you should have done, and you know, like time, you've lost time on it, you know. So I think that really ties in with that as well, that doing with what you should do, and your body always knows, you know, your mind always knows what you should be doing. And I feel like having this decision making, you know, like willpower, like you, to go with what you should do, and knowing what you should do is a really good mindset for a lot of people to start, you know, looking through it or thinking about it.
100%. 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I think it really helps to have what you genuinely want to do on a more profound level be the same thing as what you should do. I think really tying those things together, I think it really helps. And then for you to see it as something that you want to do as opposed to what you should do makes it easier to make that decision. I feel like if anyone wants to kind of think about it the way I do, I think that's something that makes it easier.
And I think the way that you think about it becomes really rewarding at the end, because no matter
Yeah.
what decisions you make, you kind of choose the one that you want to do, and like as the one, like you said, that you should do. It makes things more, I guess, makes things more. Um, I don't know. It doesn't make it so it seems like you need to do it. It makes it more of a
Yeah.
personal goal that you want to do it and that you want to achieve these things, and it makes it more personal. And I don't know. Yeah, like you said, meaningful. It puts
Yeah.
a lot of meaning behind things you do. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think that's a great reflection of what I was
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. And I feel like something that for people listening who are thinking about this, maybe not completely understanding, I feel like something that I want to, I guess, clarify is that a lot of this is more like situational based, right? You don't always,
mm-hmm.
want the same thing the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
So say that, well, while I'm at school, I definitely spend a lot of time with it. And honestly, for me, I don't even care about like what grade I get. And like, I don't even care about like just how much I actually learn it. The whole point is I'm trying to learn as much as I
Mm-hmm.
can, and I'm trying to do the best I can. It's about that effort and that attitude of trying,
Mm-hmm.
right? So with that, I would most likely be spending the time to study and learn more, to feel more prepared for whatever it is, assignment, test, whatever. And that's how I would be spending my time. But say that maybe it's like my friend's birthday and we'll go out or something like that. Well, you know what, that could very easily be more important to me. I could
Mm-hmm.
very easily think that, hey, that is more meaningful to me, and then on that particular occasion I would choose that
Mm-hmm.
and say, whatever consequences of not spending those few hours of extra, like doing work for school, whatever those consequences are, okay, I'm gonna accept it. This in this situation, what's most important to me, what I genuinely want on a profound level, is to be there and celebrate like my friend's birthday, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So I just kind of want to say that it changes depending on the exact situation and scenario you're in, right? So it just kind of having the self-awareness and having spending enough kind of time to actually think about it, just having the ability to realize these things when it comes to it, and then just kind of follow that concept and make decisions, but relate it and base it off of the situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, 100%. 100%
yeah.
agree with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah. And yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you gonna say something?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I agree with it as well. Like I think by making decisions based on solely what you truly want to do, I feel like you get to know yourself and like what you value as well, and that makes the life a lot more meaningful. Makes everything you do a lot more meaningful, and it really puts like a different perspective of like the choices you make, and like how it's gonna reward you in the end. You you get to know yourself a lot more and what you truly want in life, rather than what
Yeah.
people are feeding you. It's like, oh, you want money, like how much money, how much until you're satisfied. You kind of
Yeah.
figure out all these things for yourself, and I feel like a lot of people don't know themselves enough to to ask themselves that, to think about these things, and they kind of just go along with what everyone else likes. Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
it makes sense because like people are social, we're social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
um it it makes it so like whatever society wants, like, we want to follow that too, but that doesn't mean we're gonna be fulfilled at the end. It doesn't make us satisfied. It doesn't really make us, I guess, happy. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the way you think about making decisions and what's more meaningful and what's truly more important to you can be really beneficial at the end. and like all throughout, life, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And what you're saying, is absolutely amazing because, well, for one of the things I said I wanted to get to is basically what you've just said with the, social pressures and, looking at how the society thinks about what to want and what you should do and that kind of thing. And I definitely want to talk more about that. But something else that is also amazing about what you're saying is you mentioned quite a few points I think we should do like full episodes on. And one of them is kind of, consumerism. You're mentioning about, money, about, people saying you should want this, you should want that. And a couple other ideas over there in what you said, I think would be very interesting for us to talk about is kind of, very big problems in the world overall, such as not really knowing who you are and what you want, and not having that kind of a strong self-identity. And the second thing, very, very, closely related to that, is what you're saying about basically herd mentality, following the crowd, tribalism, that kind of thing. So I think those are all very interesting topics that we should talk about in like actual episodes, because there's a lot to get into for that, I think.
There's a lot, yeah.
But yeah, the main thing that I wanted to kind of touch on with what you're saying is that like absolutely that there's always these like social pressures that kind of people in society saying that would you want this, right? You should do that. And you kind of hear all the time. And a lot of time when people are saying they want to do this, but they should do that, like the reason behind it is really because they were just kind of always told to think like that by the society. Right? They always want to push you to, oh, you're going to school, so you should just, work hard and just spend as much time as you can on school. There's definitely a school of thought over there that is at least somewhat popular. So I feel like a lot of people saying that they think they should spend more time on that as opposed to, going out with their friends or whatnot, are kind of buying into that social pressure as opposed to, having a stronger understanding of themselves and what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right on the money, I think. That makes complete sense to me, yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, again,
Yeah,
I have no commentary on that.
Lorenzo,
that's right on the money.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Lorenzo, about just kind of the social pressure in general and how that kind of relates to people and, what they want.
Well, I feel like it's really individual. I'm sure some people follow like the social norms and I guess the social conditioning to a T, right? And they're very generic. And some people just have a complete disregard for it. I think it's completely variable in between individuals. Some people think it has some intrinsic value. Like we mentioned, we're social creatures, so a lot of people recognize that and will still follow through with the social stuff because there's nothing inherently bad about following that as long as you have a good balance somewhere else in your life, right? Some people really reject it. They hate the social norms and they'll go out of their way to go against social norms and social conditionings and whatnot. And they'll base their wants around that. So you think about like a lot of counterculture sort of stuff and jazz. And I think it's just completely up to the individual, really, how much they follow through with that.
So you're talking about like
I definitely think that
being basic and being an edgelord.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, being basic. Yeah, the basic versus the edgelord. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you made a really good point that
it's just a big spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's basically a spectrum. There's like a lot of people's opinions fall in different parts of the spectrum. And I think you can't always pinpoint what people truly want for themselves, or like what's right and what's wrong, because for everyone it's different. I think that's the one thing that I find fascinating about I guess social norms, because even though everyone's opinions are different and can be different, still a lot of people still follow it, and it's I guess it's because people are social, but like I feel like there's something else like behind that. Um, yeah, and that kind of like goes in with like social pressures, like George said. You kind of want to know like what the pressures are, and like as soon as you figure those things out, you kind of think ways around it, and like you figure out if you really want it or not.
Mm-hmm. More clarity. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that made sense.
I think, yeah, I think that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I also just think, there are probably some people out there who genuinely want to follow the social norm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
I feel like what they get out of following the social norm and kind of just following the herd and that kind of thing is genuine what they want.
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely a possibility. So really, just kind of knowing what you want, even if what you want is that, just kind of being intentional with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Don't like if you genuinely want to follow the crowd, then go ahead, but don't just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just not blindly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do it if you want to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like Lorenzo said, there's nothing wrong with
not
it.
because you
right?
feel like you need to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts on this topic about just kind of in general the idea of wanting things, what it means to want something, and how that relates to needing something? Anything?
Not right now, but I'm sure if it marinates in my brain for long enough, something will pop up.
Yeah. I feel like we should, plan an episode.
Yeah, we gotta get the topics like a day or two ahead. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then
so
like,
I think you told us a couple times. I think you polled us a couple times, right, on what we thought the topic should be, right? Did you do that for this episode?
No,
I don't think so, right?
Yeah, I did say that we're gonna do it on this though.
Okay, yeah. I probably missed it. That's what I was thinking happened. Yeah.
Same.
Okay, so next week's episode we've planned. Right? If you guys remember what it is.
I don't remember right now, but I'll look through the messenger. I'll look through the messenger for sure.
No, it's all good. So for you guys as well as the listeners, we do have next week's topic planned. We're gonna talk about moral dilemmas.
Hey,
and maybe we'll touch morality as a whole. Or maybe we'll save kind of morality as a separate topic. We'll see how the episode goes next week.
Yeah.
And and we definitely should figure out, following topics. That would be a good thing to do.
I think. Continue. Okay. Oh.
No, I was just gonna say, if I think that probably feels like a good point to wrap up this topic. And then if you're going to say something, Raymond, you could go ahead. But if not, we should go into our ending segment of the highlights of the last 2 weeks since we didn't do it last week.
I was going to say this podcast it felt a little bit different because I think I felt a lot more genuine for me because kind of like came in here without knowing the topic really. And it kind of really put my brain, like, my mind into thinking a lot more about it since I didn't have the time to prepare. So, like when you mentioned your thought process, I was thinking about it like real hard. I was like, damn. Yeah, I was like, like
how do you respond to that?
Exactly. Yeah. Like what are some points, that he made, like how can I take away from it, It was just really interesting to me, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these topics, and even like all the topics that are on the list, a lot of them I have at least a little bit of thought on. For some of the other ones, I have at least Well, some of them I have quite a bit of thoughts on. For other ones, I have like basic, couple points I wanted to make, and just things that would be interesting to talk about. But in general, I at least have a couple small points.
Yeah.
And I think most of those ideas on the list, I've written down just because, I kind of thought a lot about it. But yeah, if you guys have any particular topics you guys want to talk about, we could just bring it up and talk about it. And yeah, and I think, not being prepared or have, points already thought of ahead of time. I think a lot of time it's good and makes it more interesting
natural. It's organic.
of a podcast and conversation. Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
feel more confined to like a certain topic or like certain like types of thoughts. It's kind of nice. Yeah, but yeah, I also agree with like like having set points. Not too much, but like enough for where we have discussions from it, like different other topics. I think it's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, have a topic in general to just kind of think about and talk about. Then you have a couple points to kind of get the conversation going and see where it leads, that kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. So that's basically just us talking about how this podcast is going, will be going in the future. And let's get on to the ending segment, guys. Who wants to start?
I've been planting flowers. Yeah, I've been thinking.
Pardon me?
I've been planting a lot of flowers in my garden.
Oh, wow.
My mom's been buying some flowers home, and I've been planting them in the garden. I think it's kind of nice, to take some time and I guess decorate, your living space. In a way, it's kind of soothing in a way. You're also improving it as you go, and it's pretty relaxing. Just chilling. It's kind of it. Just trying to do some yard work. Yeah,
that's nice. Did not know you were doing that.
What about you guys?
Yeah, pretty much
same. Go, Lorenzo?
Pretty much same minus the flowers, but I did bring some flowers upstairs to the garden last night. I didn't plant them. But
wow, that's your highlight.
That's my highlight. No, but I mean, other than that, it's just been basically the same as the rest of quarantine's been. It's just been work and a bit of gaming here and there. Don't have school right now, so I'm just enjoying the summer before it all goes back in person in the fall.
Then, so no summer school, anything like that.
Nah, I'm trying to enjoy the summer as much as possible. As possible.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'm never gonna have this much free time ever again in my adult life. So
that's true.
Or at least I hope
Honestly,
so. At least I hope
true.
so. So
yeah.
Unless I win like the lottery or something, then who knows? Maybe we'll be right back to it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, for me, I'm also, definitely more chill than when I have school, that's for sure. But I am in the lab, for quite like 5-6 hours every weekday. And it's going pretty well.
Every weekday?
But my actual highlight, every weekday.
Dang,
yes, sir.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is my fourth year research project.
How long is it again? You got 8
it's
weeks?
15 weeks.
15 weeks.
15.
Oh, gosh. It's 8 weeks shorter than normal,
so it goes
right?
to mid-August. Well, it's normally, yes, but
that's crazy.
It's actually 9 weeks shorter because they cut it 1 week shorter this summer. I don't know why they did that this summer, but yeah. So
9 weeks. You get 2 less months to do it. That's wild.
Yeah, well, you have a whole summer versus the entire school year.
So would you still be doing it 5 to 6 hours a weekday if it were with the extra 9 weeks, or would it just be less hours per day?
No,
okay.
I think it's gonna be like 3 hours.
Okay. Oh my god, that'd be so much better. That would be so much better.
I mean, I don't know, 3 hours during the actual school year with all those other courses.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's the other
true.
Courses. Yeah, that's true.
Right? So I think it evens out. If anything, for me personally, this was probably easier just because it's less other things to really spend my time on. But overall, I think the difficulty is probably about the same for like most people. But really, for me, the highlight in the lab for me is I purify my protein.
Hey, congrats, man.
Yeah, I got something to work with. But really, the major highlight just the weather being so much nicer. I'm loving it. You know,
Hey,
I feel like
yeah,
I got
the
that sun
quality of my
shining
life
through
is
your
just
window
higher.
right now. Same with
Yeah,
raining,
yeah.
man. Look at
Man,
that.
it's
Look at all
like
that
Bro,
natural light.
it's been hot these past few days. It's nice, yeah.
It's gonna hit like 30
Oh,
Friday or
30,
something.
okay,
bro,
okay.
yeah. Dude, you already know, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a
Yeah.
hot summer, dude.
Yeah. Well, you know, I like going out for walks. You know, I also like actually walk through the lab since I live really close.
Hey.
So yeah, just having nice weather. You know, being outside, enjoying sunshine, going for walks. It's very nice.
Yeah.
And I guess the other highlight to finish on is really enjoying the final bits of the European soccer, European football, whatever you want to call it, and NBA finishing up. You know, the play-in tournament starts tonight. There's a lot of fun games to follow in both sports. So yeah, that's also other highlight I probably want to touch on before I end the show.
All right.
Don't know
Sounds
if
like
you guys
fun.
follow either sport.
Do not follow either sport.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But,
Well, that's going to be it for us this week. Join us next week as we talk about moral dilemmas and perhaps morality as a whole.
fun.
Thank you for listening.
Let's go.